Sweet the whispers in your ear whenever ember wanders near.
I need to talk about something. This popped off. This popped into my feed today. For those of you that follow me on Twitter, you may already have an idea of what I'm going to talk about. There was an incident that occurred in Georgia today, I think, where a child, an autistic child, got suspended from school for bringing a tiny little Lego, quote unquote, gun to school. And I wanted to talk about this. Actually, I think this happened yesterday, not today. I think this happened yesterday. I wanted to talk about this because not only is it the schools just losing their fucking minds, but they're also doing this to an autistic child. They're doing this to a special needs child. It's not like this is a child where they exhibited a threat. This is a fucking autistic child with a Lego thing. And you can see how fucking tiny it is. So I want to go through this, okay? 8-year-old suspended for bringing tiny Lego gun to school after staff classified it as a quote-unquote weapon. And yes, this is the Lego gun in question, as I understand it, that the child brought to school. So an 8-year-old student in Georgia was suspended for 3 days after school staff said a small Lego model he showed his classmates counted as a weapon. The incident happened at Walnut Creek Elementary in McDonough, where the child's mother says her son, who has autism and ADHD, was removed from class over the toy construction. Chanti Little told reporters that the Lego build was not a real firearm and argued the punishment was too severe given her son's diagnoses. No fucking... This would be too severe for a child not diagnosed with autism. The fact that the child is diagnosed with autism only exacerbates the fuckery that came from the school on this one. And I'm not done with how fucked up this is. Okay? My child did not go to school and say anything harmful or bad, Little said to local news station. They could have just explained to him, hey, we cannot build things that we think are a weapon or look like a gun. Even that is like, no, shut the fuck up. These are kids, especially little boys. Guess what little boys are into at that age? They're into laser guns, because this clearly was supposed to look like a laser gun. They're into laser guns. This is what boys do. It doesn't mean that they're planning to go and do a school shooting. They're literally kids being fucking kids. The principal told the mother that her son had brought a weapon to school, which sent her in a panic mode. Yeah, like, the principal is calling this child's mother and saying, your son brought a weapon to school, and she's immediately going, holy shit, did he find a gun somewhere? And did my 8-year-old find a gun and bring a gun to school? And it's for a fucking Lego toy. Like, that in and of itself is like, why would the school call the mother and say that to the fucking mother? Henry County Schools says its code of conduct allows principals to decide consequences based on factors including intent, severity, and the student's age. The district handbook outlines 4 levels of prohibited behavior and states that administrators can issue either an in-school or out-of-school suspension depending upon the circumstances. Little says she plans to push the district for more information about how the decision's made and whether the school followed the correct procedures before suspending her son. I think they need to ask a lot more questions than fucking that. I think she needs to push the district for a hell of a lot more than just information about how the decision was made. I think she needs to push the district as to why the principal is suspending an 8-year-old autistic child for having a Lego gun made out of Legos. that is clearly made out of Legos and is clearly not a weapon. That's what she needs to be pushing for. This is similar to another incident in Missouri in 2024 where a student was suspended for making a gun out of Dr. Pepper cans at home and then sharing his art with his friends on Snapchat. Following the boy's suspension, he filed suit against the district. And we have more here. This is from the actual local station. Yeah, his son is neurodivergent, autism ADHD. This is the weapon that they say my child. Actually, we're just going to watch the video.
A McDonough mother says her son, living with special needs, has been suspended from school for bringing what the Henry County School District is calling a weapon into his classroom.
Okay, hang up. I've got, let me pull the actual YouTube video up because that's not going away.
Into his classroom. 11 Live's Chase Howell explains why she's calling that definition into question.
The weapon that administrators are referring to here at Walnut Creek Elementary actually doesn't fire any bullets, doesn't have a trigger, and can fit in the palm of your hand.
This is the weapon that they say that my child had.
Like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? You're going to suspend a child for 3 days. This is going to be on that child's record. This is going to be on that child's school record because he made this out of Legos. No, the blue thing cannot fire. It is literally just a blue stick. It doesn't do anything. It's literally just a bunch of Legos put together. That's it. That, like...
This is clarified as a weapon to the school district.
That's right.
This is
1
disgusting.
1/2 inch Lego gun is what Shanty Little says got her 8-year-old son suspended for 3 days.
My child did not go to school and said anything harmful or bad. They could have simply explained to him that, hey, we cannot build things that we think are a weapon or look like a gun.
On Thursday, Little says she got a call from the principal at Walnut Creek Elementary that her son, who has autism and ADHD, brought a weapon to school.
They can't. Kids in schools cannot be creative at all. I was going to wait to say this, but fuck it, I'm saying it now. No, kids cannot be creative in school now. Why? Because schools are no longer a place for creativity. Schools are a place for indoctrination. Leave us not forget how many fucking schools right now are indoctrinating their children to basically teach them how to fucking protest against, like, Palestine or something. Or how many schools were teaching their kids how to protest against ICE. That's perfectly fucking legit, teaching them how to protest against shit they don't even understand. But an autistic child makes a fucking little gun thing out of Legos and they're going to suspend it for 3 days? Fuck that shit. This is all the more reason why the schools in the United States are dog shit. This is why the Federal Department of Education needs to come down on every fucking school across the country like a ton of fucking bricks. The teacher and the principal for this school should be fucking fired. And I hope to God that this woman sues the ever-living shit out of the school and the school board. She needs to file a lawsuit. The principal needs to be fired. The teacher needs to be fired. And any teachers or administrators that agree with the teacher and the principal, they need to be fucking fired too. Okay? While they're busy indoctrinating children to being good little you-know-whats, they're like, oh, an autistic kid made a gun out of Legos, and, oh, we're going to suspend him for that. Because wrong thing, I guess. Like, this is absolutely fucking disgusting, particularly because it was done to an autistic kid. Okay? The fact that they couldn't look at this autistic child and say, no, we don't want to have those kinds of things in school, this is not right, and immediately jump to fucking suspension, fuck that principal. Okay? Fuck that principal, fuck that teacher. They cannot be educators. They just proved they are not capable of being educators and that they hate autistic children. Yes, I'm fucking saying it. The principal and the teacher clearly showed that they're biased against autistic people. Yeah, they are absolutely. Yeah, they just proved that they're ableist. Absolutely. Because if a non-autistic kid did this, I have to wonder if a non-autistic kid who basically fell in line with the school's ideology did the same thing, would they have done the same? I don't think so. If a non-autistic kid who came into that with that and said, this is to use against ICE, they probably would have been like, oh, good job, Tinny. Yeah. Principal, teacher, everyone that supports them, fucking fired, and she needs to sue the shit out of the school. It's shit like this that just makes an even bigger case for why you should homeschool your kids. It makes the case for why the school system in America has fucking failed. Okay? These are the same educators that are allowing students to graduate high school and not even be able to fucking read. I am so fucking pissed off about this, particularly because they did this to an autistic kid. They basically just took a tiny little thing and they turned it into a mountain. And guess what? This autistic child is going to remember this. Okay? This is you may, to any other kid, this may not be exactly a terribly big deal. To an autistic child, this is monumental. This is going to stay with this child. And I have to wonder if this child is even going to want to go back to the school after the suspension is up. This is something, as crazy as this may sound, doing this to a child to an autistic child can traumatize them. Depending upon the severity of their autism, this can absolutely traumatize an autistic child. That they just had an adult say, you're such a bad kid for building this Lego gun. You're such a bad kid, we're kicking you out for 3 days. That's traumatizing to someone with severe autism. That stays with them. Okay? When an autistic person gets something into their head, it can take a very, very, very long time to get them to work through that. The person in my family, I give you a perfect example. Person in my family who's autistic, when they first started school, they were there when they first started school, things were going great. Then a fire drill happened. The fire drill terrified them so much that they had to be taken out of school and worked with a therapist for an entire year before they were at a point mentally that they could go back to school. This is what I'm talking about when I say that shit like this can affect autistic children so much more severely than you realize. It's not only dealing with facts, but they are also hypersensitive. They are actually you have to remember something with autistic people. They get sensory overload all the time, and because of that, they basically they kind of view things almost in extremes. Autistic people will very frequently quote unquote go to extremes with situations because that's just simply how their brain is working. Now, again, it does depend upon the severity. It depends on how much they've been worked with therapists, what coping mechanisms they've been able to develop. Of course, all of that is a factor. But, generally speaking, most autistic people do sort of jump to an extreme when it comes to situations, especially situations that elicit a heightened emotional response from the person. So this child was just told, you are such a bad, and bearing in mind, I know that this is not what they said to the child, but I would not be surprised if this is probably what was going through this child's head with the situation. This child probably in his own head was thinking that he was being told, you are such a bad kid for bringing this tiny little Lego thing to school. You're such a terrible child that we're kicking you out of school for 3 days. And that's going to stick with this kid. It is. It's going to fucking stick with this kid. And when his suspension is up, who knows if he's going to even want to go back to that school. I would not be at all surprised if this kid says to his mom, I don't want to go, and refuses to go back to school because he doesn't want to experience that trauma again of being scolded for something that was nothing.
I was simply just in panic mode. I was not sure exactly what he could have brought to school. because we don't have any weapons or guns or anything at home.
Then, when Little got there, she says administrators showed her this gun made of Legos.
I was thinking that there are actually probably other things out there that are more severe that people can think about or need to pay attention to, and not my child's Lego creation.
Exactly. Like, even, like, how much is this going to stymie his creativity now? How much is it going to cause damage that when he goes back to school, now he's not going to be in classes where creativity is encouraged? What are the chances there he's going to feel, no, I don't want to be creative. Last time I was creative, I got yelled at. Then that might affect him in school and at home. I would be thinking they were pulling a very bad prank. Which day? Are you talking about the school? Because if it was, this is just fucked up all around.
While the Henry County School District says it cannot comment on individual student disciplinary matters, a spokesperson wrote in part, the Henry County Board of Education's Code of Conduct defines various levels of infractions, and school administrators consult these definitions in using their discretion to determine student consequences.
There were a lot of opportunities I feel like they missed that they could have used in order to just
hang on,
educate my child or talk to me instead of just going full out and suspending him.
Little says her son is due back to school on Monday. In McDonough, Chase Howell, 11 Alive News.
Like, that isn't even like, that isn't like they had other options. How about these people in the school act like fucking human beings? Like, these people, the people in this school didn't even act like fucking human beings. They acted like the fascists that they claimed to supposedly be against. This was fucking disgusting. I really hope that this mother sues the ever-living shit out of the school and the school district. She needs to sue the fuck out of them. Because honestly, that's the only way you're gonna get results from this happening. It's the only method that's gonna work. You sue the fuck out of them and say the principal, the teacher, and anyone else that was all for it, for this action, fucking bye. Goodbye. You no longer have a job, and you will never work in the education industry ever again. Go put the fries in the fucking bag. That principal and that teacher deserve to put the fries in the bag and nothing else. They should never be educators again, ever, and they should fucking lose everything. I'm going overboard on this, but I'm sorry. You fuck with an autistic person like this, a fucking autistic child, yeah, you're gonna fucking piss me off when you fuck with an autistic child, an 8-year-old. Because this is the formative years of that child's life. This is when that child is going to be developing the skills necessary for him to survive in the fucking world. Okay, at 8 years old, this is the formative time for this child to learn how to cope with their autism, how to develop those skills needed to be able to simply just survive and be able to take care of himself. And they just set that back by God fucking knows how much by doing this bullshit and telling this kid, effectively speaking, you're a bad child because you made this little fucking Lego gun. They just, God only knows how much they set back any work that this parent and any therapist have been working on with this child by doing this. Yes, it sounds extreme, but that's how autists think. That's how people with autism, particularly children with moderate to severe autism, that's how they think. They think in extremes. And I feel fucking horrible for this child. I feel absolutely fucking horrible because if this had been a member of my family, I would have been beaten down the door, screaming the roof down at the principal saying, what in the actual fuck do you think you're doing, you cock-gobbling thundercats? They would have heard me a fucking county over screaming at this principal if he did this to my child. I would have fucking destroyed him verbally. And then I would have sued him and the school into fucking oblivion. And I would make it my life's fucking mission that the teacher and the principal never set foot in another school in an educator capacity again for the rest of their fucking lives. Go put the fries in the bag, bitch.
Ember burns bright.